Welcome. This podcast is a series of candid conversations exploring the human experience from a completely new perspective. In it, we will be diving deeply into the meaning of commonly used words and pointing you away from that old stressful way of looking at life and towards a new paradigm. This will help you find a sense of calm, cultivate meaningful relationships, and create harmony in every aspect of your life. Here is Navigating Life with Ease with Michaela, Ellis and Clare, Downham.
Hello, lady.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing, Claire?
Sun's still shining, so
Woohoo!
I think.
Nice. Glad.
So you
I have a word
word
for you.
Yes.
I do. And I thought about this for those who just happen upon our podcast and don't read the little description of how we do this, is that we surprise each other each week with a word, a fairly common word that we then sort of contemplate, see what comes up in the moment from the deeper part of who we are to help you. And we always explore things for ourselves too, don't we? In like just how this helps us to move through our day-to-day life in a more easeful way. Hence, navigating life with ease. Yeah. So the word is love.
Oh, could just sit in that, couldn't we, and not say anything at all? So I think, goodness, what a misunderstood word, really. You just think about all the pop songs and the ballads and the films and this sense of seeking it in the outside world and being destroyed when that person isn't there anymore, and it can really seem like in order to experience love there needs to be somebody or something, perhaps it coming into our lives, a sense of not being complete, I guess, for many people until there is that other person. And I think that, it can hold people in relationships that are really not healthy sometimes, not the right relationship for them, and really not very good for them at all, because there's this sense of trying to feel complete because of the other person. And it's just not true that we need to find it outside. I would say, for me, that it's part of the essence of who we really are, that love is part of that essence, that essence of consciousness and universal intelligence, and love is part of that. And I love the Jack Pransky quote, which you probably know, which all we are is peace, love and wisdom, and the ability to create the illusion that we are not. Mm-hmm. And when we're seeking it in the outside world and failing, of course, repeatedly, because we can't really get it in the outside world, that's because we're caught up in our thinking, we're caught up in our ideas. We've learned a lot of things, I think, unfortunately, from the pop songs and the films and everything about what love is all about, that it's about, for us girls, perhaps it's, women, it's this person coming in on a white Charger and scooping us up, carrying us off into the sunset. Or it's, it could be all sorts of things that we've picked up right from our childhood. Think about fairy tales, they're all about that, finding the certain prince or whatever, and then riding off into the sunset happily ever after. But what I'd love people to see about this is that happily ever after, or that way of feeling love, you don't need any of that external stuff. That I find myself falling into that space because I'm smelling a flower in a garden, or watching we had a dove in our garden yesterday that was really trying to, we wanted to get the food on the bird feeder, but Bruce was working in the shed, which is right next to the bird feeder. So it kept like flying over us and then flying off again. Because I think it thought I think it was trying to scare us off so it could go to the food because we were stood right next to it. And just like watching this bird, like just, and dove, of course. We associate dove with love anyway, don't we? But it little things like that, going for a walk and saying hello to a stranger, or, when you're in this feeling of love, everything looks brighter and you connect to everything around you and everyone around you on a completely different level, in a completely different way. And it doesn't need, therefore, to be, it's almost the other way around. The traditional view is the person comes in and then you feel love and that's wonderful. Whereas now I see it, I'm just feeling love more of the time. And then I just see loads of things in the world that are lovely, uh, attract my attention, or if I go and, like I say, smell a flower or watch a dove flying, or, just watch a sunset, or it doesn't need to be. I find smaller and smaller things just come into my awareness and bring joy, I suppose, when you're in that place of love, more of the time. And that for me is because I'm not so much in my headspace, caught up in my thinking and caught up in my plotting and scheming and moaning and God knows what else, to try and, find it somewhere else. And it's definitely impacted on my relationships with my fiance, with my family, just being in that space more of the time. They don't need to be that. It used to be very conditional. They need to be either a certain person, or that person needs to be a certain way. They need to behave in a certain way. Otherwise, I don't feel good. And now, just not as bothered really about how they behave or what they do. With boundaries still, but it just doesn't seem to matter as much. I just happier to be in a nice feeling with them, rather than them needing to change for me to be in a nice feeling. That condition stuff has all kind of fallen away now. In the main, it still rears its ugly head, as it does with our other halves, as I'm sure you're familiar with too, and our children, but less and less so. So yeah, so that's my starter for 10, as it were. How about your thoughts on love?
Yeah, love. There's so much, and that's sort of covered off on so many different aspects of it. This was something interesting. So this came up yesterday when someone had sent me a little clip of Drew Barrymore, the actress, come talk host now. I'm not really sure what she's doing right now, but she was asking Jay Shetty, who is a well-known coach, and he has a podcast. I don't even know what he's all up to in the world, but she was asking him about receiving love and how to help someone to receive love. So this person who had sent it to me said, I resonate with this. And there was all kinds of things that came up about, wow, what we make meaning of when it comes to love. And there seems to me, what I see, and not just yesterday, but just in general, is that, wow, love can be really heavy, can cause a lot of heaviness based on what we've been conditioned to believe about it, and really relating to many of the things that you already spoke to, of what it means is like that if you don't have a partner in your life, that means something about you. It means something about the trajectory of your life. And, what does it mean? And what have you got if you don't have that, oh my goodness. So it was really like, what is the meaning that we make of it? And here's something I happened to hear this morning. I don't know what. So Stephen Hawkins, he's a scientist, yes, and he has his level of consciousness chart, which I wish I had beside me, but I don't. But what this person said was that love on Stephen Hawking's levels of consciousness is actually below. It's not the highest vibration. It joy is above it, and I don't know. I can't remember some of the others, but and I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? And it's like I kind of get that. A couple of years ago, sitting in my hammock out at a camping spot, I actually had a lot of time on my own, and love sort of appeared to me as rather neutral. That, you know, how we talk about that our natural state is well, we have this natural state of well being. And it's just like, well, that's what love, that's how it looks in my mind, that it's neutral, and that like a nice neutral, you know, vanilla, maybe, you know, it's light, it's not, you know, if vanilla is okay to you, maybe your vanilla is strawberry, but it's not all sprinkled and sparkly and all of that. It's like it's our neutral natural state. And that, and I'm just posing this, like, let's consider this. What it looks like to me is we have different people and different things in our life that we prefer. Like, I prefer to have an intimate relationship with my husband, and I preferred him. My children, I have different relationships with these young adults in my life that I don't feel the same about other young adults in my life, like my nieces and nephews and my kids' friends. It's different, but it doesn't make the love that I feel more special. It's just different. It has a different feel to it, but it doesn't make it like they're more important than any other human or, you know, spiritual being on the planet. It just means like they're in my circle, and just how the time that we were able to spend together sort of sparks different, something different. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, okay. And that is, how can you put conditions on any of that? It's just naturally. And guess what? There's someone else who will have different relationships with those other people in my life that I don't have those same preferences to, you know, play with. There's so many. I know this is sort of maybe an abstract way, but Rob and I, we were talking about wills this weekend, and I've shared with him how I felt, because I knew that it was possible that he might be offended to believe that I see love as neutral, but I prefer him for some of the activities and experiences that I have in my life. I chose him to have children with and to spend the rest of my life with. But it's like kind of neutral, but he's a preference. And when we were talking about wills this weekend, it was like it really became apparent how we see things. And he was very open about how some of it was like tradition. It's just like, well, this is tradition. It's like, oh, isn't that that could be another word for the future. Because it's like tradition is condition, really. Unless it's a choice, unless it feels really good. So it was just interesting to me to see how all of these things can affect our experience of love.
I remember somebody saying to me once that they'd know they were enlightened if they could say that they loved Donald Trump. It's just this is an example of a person who many people don't like, or somebody else who's not portrayed very well in the world. And I guess that's kind of what you're saying there, is that the love is just, maybe it's connection, maybe it's non-separation. From a non-duality perspective, it's the sense that we are one, we are connected, we are part of every other human being. We're all one spirit having 8 billion human experiences, and also some blade of grass experiences and tree experiences and lion experiences and whatever else. It's all of it is the same energy. And maybe that energy is what people are trying to describe when they talk about love. But it's got all out of kilter with the romantic, like you're saying, like a romantic choice that we find somebody who we want to spend more time with. But the love is this more universal is probably the word. It's something more universal. It's something about that no separation essence that connects, something that connects us all. Like a thread that connects all of us to everybody else, kind of thing, or an energetic connection more, I suppose. But it can be so conditional, can't it? People, like you said, it can have ironically, a lot of unpleasantness around it, which is just bizarre in a way, that it's, I think maybe it's almost like it's the wrong word. Like we're talking about two different things, aren't we, completely? So why do they have the same word? Maybe, yeah, because they're not the same. It's not the same thing, is it? This love that we talk about with somebody we're in a relationship with, or even our children or whatever, friends, whatever, isn't the same as this thing that unites us all, because it's very thought-based, I suppose. The love that we're talking about in the fairy tales and the songs and the movies and everything else is, it's very sort of, very outside in, isn't it? It's,
Yes.
as opposed to this essence thing we're talking about, which is spirit. Maybe it's spiritual love as against practical everyday love, which is just different things, aren't they? I'm just thinking these aren't the same thing.
Yeah. Yes.
They're two completely different things. So I wonder when they got muddled up.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can take a wild guess. When us humans started thinking immediately, I just saw that it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if there's any love that I've ever experienced. Like, I'm curious, I'm going to take this away, that has not been conditional. Except for when I really settle into this idea that, oh yeah, it's really just our neutral place. And what we might call love is who, I love doing this with this person. I love doing that with that person. I enjoy that. And we make it seem like there's love. What I just saw kind of in my mind, we just had a family camp a few weeks ago. And I thought about family. It's like, isn't this interesting? It's like we may, maybe not everybody, but we may make people who are relatives in our family sort of higher importance, or that we love them, or that we like whatever. There's something that sort of seems to be tying us together. But when you look at that, we are all one, we all come from the same energy source, there is no separation there. What does that mean there? I mean, in our world, it's just kind of how it's set up in our human world. We have families and then we tend to look after each other. I know it doesn't always look like that. For some people, they may not have that. But even when, if it's something that's not called a family, there's like, how do I say, communities or societies or groups or whatever that we set up to support each other. Is that from love?
Well, or is that from survival? Because you hear, don't you, about the whole tribal thing. The reason why people don't like doing public speaking, and often, people will say, I'd rather die than do public speaking, and that's because there's a fear of rejection by the tribe that's really deep seated in people, and that's because obviously, if you were rejected by the tribe, you were doomed. Really, you can't really manage being on your own on the savannah without your tribe. So people have a tendency to be with a group for survival. I think that's underpinned by our survival drives, is the need to be in a group. So I mean, I guess we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know, do we? But maybe in conclusion, love is just this universal essence. It isn't a thing, really. It's not a thing that we can grasp. Like Michael Neal says, it's like pointing at fire with ice. The closer you get to it, the more you've just got a puddle of water that's dripping through your hands. You can't really grasp it. Maybe it's just reassuring to know that that's who we really are, and just look gently towards that. Not in a beat yourself up if you're not being loving kind of way, but just towards ourselves and towards other people, to realize that that's at our core. And I think as well, when we're not in that space, we'll get those warning embodied feelings from our body will go, you're moving away from love. So when we fall upset with somebody and we start ranting and we get angry with them or whatever, it's always just telling us you're away from love now. You're in separation, and therefore you feel terrible. And that's just really helpful to see that we have this perfect system that is always saying, just that you're going in the wrong direction. And that we're always being guided back to love, maybe. And when we're not there, we feel bad. Simple.
Right. Exactly. It really is that simple. Does it feel good? Yeah. Does it feel good? Do more of that.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Claire.
Oh, thank you. What a lovely word to have. I shall see you next time.
Indeed.
Take care.
Ciao. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thank you for being a part of Navigating Life with Ease. We'd love to hear your feedback and receive a review on your favorite podcast platform. This will help others who'd also like more ease in their life to find us. We're here to support you, so if you've any words you'd like us to explore or you've a question, please reach out to us at navigatinglifewithease@gmail.com. Again, thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more episodes of Navigating Life with Ease.